Hello, my dear viewers. I never tire of thanking you for supporting my YouTube channel. Thank you. Today I have prepared a topic for you called Arguing with Pain. In Friday's video, I already talked about how, when someone presents their pain to us, they are in fact unconsciously casting us as the aggressor. In other words, the one who is in pain is suffering. They are the martyr. The one because of whom I am in pain is the aggressor, the bad and the wrong one. That's why when you present your pain to someone else, when you make a claim that you are being hurt, you need to understand that you will encounter a completely natural resistance, which is deeply embedded in the other person's unconscious. And that's why the phrase, "you are causing me pain," does not necessarily have to be that explicit. But if your wording carries that message, you need to understand the consequences of how the other person will react to you. I'd like us now to model a situation where someone causes us pain, where we feel hurt by another person's actions, and conversely, when our actions hurt someone else. Try to recall for a moment some real-life situations that actually happened to you, and try just for a moment to put yourself in the position of the one who causes pain. In other words, the other person could very well have this complaint against you, and also try being the one who is hurt. Recall how you feel in those moments. Imagine someone accuses you of causing them pain. In that moment, a sense of shame arises. There is a feeling of being bad. Of course, we would all like to be the kind of person who never hurts anyone, or, at the very least, only causes pain to the wrong people. And when someone close to us tells us that we are causing pain, we feel terrible. But when we are the ones who have been hurt and we talk about it, we take on that role. As the one who is suffering, we actually feel good in that position. In that role, we are certainly not the bad ones. We are suffering, and our suffering feels righteous. It's the other person who is bad, and from this position of the one who suffers, I can either forgive them or endure them or, holding back tears, talk to them about how they cause pain and try to understand and accept this imperfect person. You see, in the state of the one who suffers, there is a lot of even a kind of arrogance, as if I am somehow better than this wrong other person. And ideally, in my opinion, in my subjective view, a thinking person should completely give up using pain as an argument. Let me give you a few examples. For example, a husband says to his wife, "Quit your job. You cause me pain by working because you spend little time at home and with the family. It hurts me that you are a working woman." Or a woman says to her husband, "You are causing me pain because you don't want to have sex with me, and so I have to find some way to relieve this pain. I've started seeing a lover." So, as you can see in these two examples, we understand that using pain as an argument is completely manipulative. It's as if they're telling the other person, "If I'm in pain, you must sacrifice yourself. My pain is sacred. Tend to my pain." And this perception of what is happening, not going my way, as something hurtful, as something that causes me pain, opens up a space in which I am at the center of the universe. And the whole universe is something that serves me. And if I am in pain, then it must change. It is wrong. In other words, what we see here is egocentrism, being locked within oneself. And in this self-centeredness, I am the main character. I am the meaning, I am the core of this worldview. To move out of the victim state, Because being a victim is not just about suffering. When I am not egocentric, I definitely experience less pain. Because if the world doesn't owe me anything, if I do not perceive myself as the central protagonist. If I truly understand that others have their own unique set of needs, then it feels like I experience much less pain as well. That is, it doesn't hurt me because I have understanding. But beyond that, refusing to communicate with arguments rooted in resentment also leads to a decrease in aggressiveness. I've mentioned in many videos that the victim can be aggressive. When we are in pain, it feels as if we have the right to punish the offender, to be cruel or impatient toward them. In other words, the victim is always either embittered or suffering or both, and suffering can instantly turn into bitterness. All this aggression and rage that I was not allowed to express, if I am not suffering, it is forbidden, but if I am suffering, it suddenly becomes permissible. So, as a matter of objective reality, when we finally cease to utilize pain as a primary argument, we simultaneously begin to experience a significantly reduced amount of emotional suffering within our complex interactions and connections with the world around us, and with less of our own aggressiveness. Let's try to break this down with a simple example. Imagine you're talking to someone, you're telling a story, and at that moment they interrupt you and you feel hurt. That is, the pain comes from feeling unimportant, from not being listened to, from being interrupted. You weren't allowed to do what you wanted. And if I turn to my pain as an argument, I will immediately attack my conversation partner, or I will hold back that attack or suppress my aggression and my suffering. And if I say to them, "You hurt me when you interrupt," then at that moment, I become the victim. I label them as the aggressor, and from there it can go in any direction. The other person might start to justify themselves, but they won't forgive us for making them the aggressor. That stays with them. In other words, it will remain somewhere inside them. Or they might start to justify themselves, to apologize. In other words, this is essentially coercion. It humiliates them. To have them admit they were wrong, justify their mistake, and seek our forgiveness. And when a person is closed off, when they are at the early stages of their development, they can't even imagine another way to express themselves. But when a person is thoughtful, if they are interrupted, for example, they might say, "It's important for me to share this," or "I would like to finish my thought." But here, the tone is also important, because if I feel hurt by it, I might respond in a pained way, saying, "It's important for me to finish this." You can say it in a calm tone. "It's important for me to finish what I'm saying." Do you see how different that is? It's important for me to speak in a calm tone rather than saying, "You hurt me when you interrupt." That is disrespectful. These two simple phrases actually represent two completely different worlds. They exist in entirely different spaces. And at the moment, when this is the other person, this is me, and this is our communication, three separate entities. At the moment when someone interrupts me, I flare up with emotion. And if I can't return to a balanced state where both I and the other person are equal and communication is important to me, then I start focusing only on myself, on my own ego, on my wounded pride. And this escalation and intensification of emotion, if I don't step out of this egocentric state, I might create a conflict situation. I'm not even urging you to worry about reducing conflicts and aggression. It's more about taking care of yourself, because a person who is focused on their own pain, who justifies their pain, won't be able to communicate with others. They will be toxic to those around them. So I hope that I was able to show you the personal benefit of not relying on pain and not using pain as an argument, but instead trying to find other ways to express yourself and to look at the situation from a different perspective. You can get the webinar recording, Self-Reflection, Realistic Thinking About Yourself. In this webinar, we will practice together doing exercises that help us look at situations without judgment. This will significantly reduce our emotional reactions, which means it will allow us to access our own intellect and find solutions. Especially when we find ourselves in challenging situations. I will say goodbye for now. See you soon.